Morning, everyone. For our gathering music today, in celebration of Black History Month, I thought I would start with a rag piece called Ragtime Nightmare by Tom Turpin. This was one of the first Black composers to have his piano music, published. So enjoy. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Susanne Maziarz. I'm the music director here, and I'm sitting in my office at 310 Danforth. I have your announcements for the coming week. This week, like every week, on Monday night, the Spirit Choir rehearses from 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Zoom. If you're interested in joining our non-audition choir, please contact me at music@nuuc.ca. On Tuesday mornings, our minister offers Coffee with the Minister from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. over Zoom. That's a drop-in conversation time here in our service Zoom link. We continue to support Club Sandwich. If you are able to make any amount of individually wrapped sandwiches to help feed local hungry people, they can be dropped off at 112 Simpson, that's MCC, Wednesdays anytime before 8 or Thursdays before noon in the alleyway for contactless drop-off. Every Wednesday evening, our minister, Reverend Wayne, offers meditation, currently over Zoom, Wednesday evening from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. All are welcome. Today at 1 p.m., the Canadian Unitarian Council is offering their national service on sharing our faith with the theme of celebration and contemplation, the path of an eighth principle. You can join live on Zoom. The links are in the chat below, or you can watch the service on CUC's YouTube channel. On Monday, February 14th, continue to celebrate Black History Month by attending Songs of Exodus and Freedom with musicologist Jordan Clapman. This is a free workshop. Everyone is invited for an hour from 7:10 to 8:10 p.m. The Zoom link will be in our Monday mailing. Followed that workshop, Neighborhood will gather for part 2 of the discussion on how to activate our eighth principle. That's from 8:15 to 9:15 p.m. in the service Zoom. Even if you missed part 1 of the discussion, we'd appreciate your feedback in part 2. On Sunday, February 20th, following our service, we'll have an investment update meeting from 12:30 to 2 p.m. Your 2021 tax receipts from neighborhood donations will be emailed the coming week. If you wish to receive a printed version, please contact our office administrator, Hala, at office@nuuc.ca. The gift in kind tax receipts were already emailed on Friday. Please contact Hala if you didn't receive yours. The interim minister selection update. Our interim selection team members are Alison Kabayama, Helen Armstrong, Beata Hundert, Moira McDonald, and Gordon Thorne. If you'd like more information about the interim minister selection process, please check your email for an update and Q&A. This week's question to the community. When you forgive, what happens? Ponder this. Our minister hopes you'll be willing to share when the time comes. Please share only one idea today. And next Sunday, our theme will be Open Hearts, Open Houses. Our service weaver will be Peter Marmerick. Our minister, Reverend Wayne Walder, will be offering the message of inspiration, and music will be provided by Hilary Donaldson.
Good morning, beautiful humans and any non-human animal companions that are close by. Welcome to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation service. My name is Debb Bertazzon, and I'll be your virtual service weaver this morning from the warmth of my home and with warmth in my heart. This service is being recorded for both for the public on YouTube and on our website, but not to worry, joys and concerns will be edited out. If you have any privacy concerns, I invite you to be true to yourself. You can turn off your camera so that you're not seen. You might even want to rename yourself, but allow yourself to feel safe and comfortable in this gathering. Now we have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. So let us bring our hearts and our minds and our spirits together as one, as we share energy and give gratitude for being with each other. This is our threshold moment. Let's enter this sacred space together. Our service begins now. As we light our chalice, we encourage you to light your own personal chalice, or if you have a candle, you can even hold your hands in the shape of a chalice. But either way, please join Susanne as we sing.
We light this chalice to remember, to light the fire within our own hearts.
And now for our prelude. Susanne, what's on the docket for today?
Thanks, Deb. This morning we are being blessed by the sounds of the Spirit Choir. I had hoped, as many of us did, that the choir would begin to sing in person in January, but unfortunately COVID had other things in mind. So instead of the programming I had planned for the choir, we learned a song called Hard Times Come Again No More by Stephen Foster, written about 170 years ago. I believe the song carries a universal message, identifying when we ourselves have been struggling and also noticing the plight of those less fortunate than us. You'll hear the choir sing it as the prelude this morning, and we'll sing it together as the closing song later in the service.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms waiting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a sigh that is wafted across the troubled wave. 'Tis a wail that is heard upon the shore. 'Tis a dirge that is murmured around the lowly grave. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more.
Thank you, Spirit Choir. Today, almost all of us are in our homes in isolation. Let us remember that many of these homes are on the traditional land and territories of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Mississauga, and the Haudenosaunee nations. I offer my gratitude for all of our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people for their teachings about earth, relations, and community. Let us all work to honor these teachings and always speak the truth about the colonialism, genocide, and cultural erasing of Indigenous people. And finally, may those of us who are settlers be respectful guests and humble neighbors. Morning, neighborhood neighbors. Allow me to acknowledge some of our wonderful neighborhood neighbors. Our minister is the Reverend Wayne Walder. Our musical director is Susanne Maziarz, and Zee Getchell facilitates our Sunday Child and Caregiver program. We also have Mike Kosowski working his magic behind the curtain, doing the Zoom web hosting duties. Thank you to them all. By now, we've mistressed Zoom etiquette. However, if you have any questions or concerns, you can send a direct chat message to either Zee or Peter, who will happily support you. If you're visiting us for the first time, we welcome you, and we invite and encourage you to stay after service. You can either go to a breakout room or stay in the main space where our minister will be, and he'll be happy to answer any questions about who we are and what we do. For starters, our mission here at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action and care for the world. Our theme for February is open house, and as you may have gathered by now, today we'll be examining the topic of being neighborly. When I saw this topic for the service, my pedagogical hero, Fred Rogers, came into my mind's eye, and his sweet, gentle voice came into my ears. This is a man who was so ahead of his time in the messaging he gave to children, a message that many of us still need to hear. And he says that we are loved and capable of loving, and that we're lovable. He'd always say, I like you just the way you are. Allow me, Mike, to show a clip of this beautiful man whose life calling was to teach children of all ages about being neighborly. In this clip, he shares a lovely story as part of a commencement speech that he gave at Dartmouth College in 2002. Mike, can you show that clip?
My favorite story that came from the Seattle Special Olympics. Well, for the 100-yard dash, there were 9 contestants, all of them so-called physically or mentally disabled. All 9 of them assembled at the starting line, and at the sound of the gun, they took off. But not long afterward, one little boy stumbled and fell and hurt his knee and began to cry. The other 8 children heard him crying. They slowed down, turned around, and ran back to him. Every one of them ran back to him. One little girl with Down syndrome bent down and kissed the boy and said, "This'll make it better." And the little boy got up, and he and the rest of the runners linked their arms together and joyfully walked to the finish line. They all finished the race at the same time. And when they did, everyone in that stadium stood up and clapped and whistled and cheered for a long, long time. People who were there are still telling the story with great delight. And you know why. Because deep down, we know that what matters in this life is more than winning for ourselves. What really matters is helping others win too, even if it means slowing down and changing our course now and then.
Indeed. Here at Neighborhood, we draw wisdom from many sources. If Fred was still with us today, I'm sure he would appreciate the words of the late Thich Nhat Hanh, who said, "It is possible that the next Buddha will not take the form of any individual. The next Buddha may take the form of a community practicing understanding and loving kindness, a community practicing mindful living. This may be the most important thing we can do for the survival of the earth." So, let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, and if you know the words, sing it with me. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Now let's take a moment to greet the neighbors around you. Switch to gallery view, unmute your device, and offer a greeting to those around you. We'll sound that chime when it's time to end. Hello, neighbors.
Good
Morning, everyone. Debbie.
My neighbor.
Neighbors.
Marion.
I'm
See you, Ellie.
Hi,
Susan. Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, Tony.
there.
How
Hi,
are
Ellie.
you?
Good morning.
Nancy, very nice to see you.
Hi, Nancy.
Lauren,
Hey, Mike.
Hi,
Hey,
Brenda.
Christina.
Susan.
Monica. Hi, Susan.
Bruce.
Morning, Jack. Where's my
Bruce.
neighbor?
Peter.
Hi, Eva.
Hey, Bob.
Morning,
Dee.
Brad. Hi, Faith. Hi, Dawn.
Tony, hi, Helen.
Everyone's going. Bye.
Boo.
Now I invite you to join me in reading our opening words, which will now appear on your screen. Let us cast a circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast a circle of a cherished space here, a space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life, a life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families.
I wonder if I can ask you the question to the congregation, and I wonder if you can imagine it and then respond, like with the wisdom that you can offer us. And the question is, when you say you're sorry, when you ask for forgiveness, what happens or what happened? Maybe just one thing. Now, one of the ways that we do this is maybe because it's a little longer, 1 or 2 or 3 people maybe. If you respond by raising your hand, I can call on you and we can hear what happened when you said you were sorry. It's okay if we hold a little silence to get there. Susanne?
I feel when I apologize, I'm accessing my higher self and that my heart opens to include more love and more people.
Thank you. That's often what I feel for sure. Dave or Lauren?
Yeah, at work this week, I was approached by a head of a department, and he called me on some work I was doing, which he felt was dangerous, and that I should have consulted him about. And I reflected on it, and I apologized, and I realized that he was right. And so, in apologizing, I think I was acknowledging that I was happy that he was concerned for my safety, and that he was right in that I should have consulted him. So in that time, I think it was an acknowledgement for someone else's concern.
Thanks, Dave. Dee Dee, what about you?
Okay, we have a conflict resolution process in my classroom with grade 1 kids, and it involves each person gets to tell their story without being interrupted. And then usually it's the consequence is an apology. The one person saying, I'm sorry, maybe a handshake. And bar none, the response has always been from the other person, it's okay. And it feels so good.
Thank you. Because our service can go on long and there's always places for us to speak within that to share our wisdom, why don't we go into time for all ages? Zee?
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be my could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? Hi neighborhood. I'm so glad we're together again. How are you doing this week? I'm particularly glad you could join me today, because today I'm going to share a special song with you. It's a song I learned from an old friend, Officer Francois Clemens. It's called There Are Many Ways, and it goes like this. There are many ways to say I love you. There are many ways to say I care about you. Many ways, many ways, many ways to say I love you. There's the singing way to say I love you. There's the singing something someone really likes to hear. The singing way, the singing way, the singing way to say I love you. Cleaning up a room can say I love you. Hanging up your coat before you're asked to do it. Drawing special pictures for the holidays. And making plays. You'll find many ways to say I love you. You'll find many ways to understand what love is. Many ways, many ways, many ways to say I love you. Thank you for joining me for this song, neighborhood. I'll see you again next time, and remember, I like you just the way you are.
Thanks, Zee. I like you just the way you are, too. Our opening song this morning, following up Hard Times Come Again No More, is Bambalela, which is a song from South Africa in Xhosa that means never give up or hold on. This song was born out of the anti-apartheid movement and now is sung to support people living with HIV and AIDS. Never give up, neighborhood. Bambalela.
Bambalela, 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 bamba, 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 oh, bamba, bambalela, 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 bamba, 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 oh, bamba, bambalela, 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 bamba, 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 oh, bamba,
I don't know if you know that in 1969, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that it was unconstitutional to segregate public places. Swimming pools were part of that ruling. Now, the summer of 1969 was hot, and for decades, people with brown and black skin had not been able to use the same pools as people with white skin. The court's decision changed that. After the verdict on a hot summer day, everybody jumped in, no matter what color their skin was. In some places, though, this didn't go so well. When people jumped into the pool in a hotel, all people, the owner yelled for them to get out. When they didn't leave, he began throwing large quantities of bleach into the water to purify it and to pressure them to leave. It was an ugly and hateful scene, and it was illegal. When I see this kind of ignorance, I want to protest and advocate for justice. And I imagine you do too. We want to make our voices heard against this kind of behavior. But often I have found that my sometimes shrill and self-righteous voice doesn't create the change that I hoped for. When I saw Mr. Rogers of the children's PBS television show protest this incident, he did it in a different way, and I was charmed. On the show, we found Mr. Rogers sitting with his feet cooling in a children's wading pool. Now, Officer Clemens, a black actor and regular on the show, happens by, and Mr. Rogers invites him to cool his feet in the pool too. This is right after that scene with the hotel owner and the bleach. Officer Clemens tells Mr. Rogers that he doesn't have a towel, and Mr. Rogers offers to share his towel. Officer Clemens is his real name, sits down, removes his shoes, and joins Mr. Rogers in the pool, just like in that picture, which they recreated almost 25 years after they originally did it. Rogers, in fun, splashes the pool water and gently squirts Clemens' feet with the hose. And happily, they express their joy for cooling off together on a hot summer day as they dry their feet with the very same towel. Mind you, as a children's show, I found this a beautiful and subversive way to address the issue of inequality. When Clemens was interviewed 50 years later, he said that he initially thought the 1969 scene was kind of lighthearted, maybe not very good, because he was expecting it to include Martin Luther King, who had just been assassinated the year prior. He thought protest had to be explicit and forceful. But Clemens later said that the sharing of the towel and the cool water of the pool were powerful images. He said it was transformative to sit in the kiddie pool with Rogers as he thought to himself, "Oh, something wonderful is happening here, and this is not at all what it looks like. It's way bigger." Clemens continued to say, "Many people, as I've traveled around the country, shared with me that particular moment meant something special to them. When that program came on," said one guy, "we were actually discussing the fact that Black people were inferior. And when we saw it, Mr. Rogers cut right through anything we were thinking, and it ended all our arguments." Rogers shared what it truly meant to be neighborly. He did it simply and without the strident and sometimes brittle words of protest, with words of invitation, and without anything getting put on, called out, or pushed over. He got people to simply let go of something that they were doing that was unjust. He used respect. These actions are often more effective than outrage. And in our very name, the neighborhood congregation It asks us to invite, to care, to include, to show up, to demonstrate patience, and listen to the ways and understandings of all people. Frankly, other ways are less effective. And this is what we hoped for when 6 founders of our congregation joined together 23 years ago to articulate who we wanted to be in community. We wanted to choose a name that would encompass and speak to these dreams. Neighborhood. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Wayne. This is a special time in our service when we invite you to share a joy or a concern in your life. Okay then. We light this candle for all the joys and concerns that were not spoken aloud, but have voice in our hearts. Now I'd like to ask Wayne and Susanne to lead us in the forgiveness ritual. Wayne?
When we met in person, we started several rituals that we've been able to do more or less virtually. And this is our second try at doing a forgiveness ritual. So if you can, get yourself in a space almost like meditation where you can feel relaxed and quiet. A ritual is a way that we're able to jointly enter an emotional space. Soon, I'll ask if there's someone in your life that you would like to say you're sorry to. And what we would like you to do is write it in the chat just to me, and I'll delete it, and I'll speak it anonymously without mentioning where it's from. And then after one or two, we'll sing the song that Susanne is so lovely playing. I'm sorry to my sister Carol.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I am sorry to my estranged daughter.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm so sorry to Alex.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm so sorry to my mother.
each other, we begin again in love.
I'm sorry to my mother, Pearl.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm sorry to my father that I didn't understand the pain that led to his grief and anger.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm sorry to my sister and to my girlfriend.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm so sorry to myself and for the times I spoke inappropriately.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm sorry to my mother and to Jamie, my love.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I'm sorry to my love for not understanding. And I'm sorry to my son for not having the resources to meet his special needs.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
We are all old enough to have not taken better care of the earth. So sorry, Mother Earth.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
And for all of the things that we're sorry for, that maybe we haven't been able to say it.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
You know, when I do these rituals, it's very difficult not to weep. Thank you. You know, I believe Mr. Rogers did something that is now, only now being understood. He used the goodness of people to define them. He played up the similarities he shared with Officer Clemens rather than the differences that set them apart. And this is an important way to look at everyone, but it's even more important to understand how effective it can be in our stressed world. When we hear marginalized people framed as problems, as dangerous, as aggressive, at risk, weak, in the media or by our own thoughts, then we see them as problems and dangerous and aggressive and needy and weak. When we frame or we hear people framed as good people who have some challenges, which could be created by our culture, we flip the whole idea of racism, of misogyny or ableism. If we undermine the problems instead of the people, we change everything. There's a name in the brain research community for this. It's called asset framing. When we asset frame groups or individuals, we see and define people by their assets, not by their deficits. This is pretty important because over the last 50 years, we as a society have focused heavily on deficit framing in our news stories and dialogue. Deficit framing is focusing on people's problems rather than on their assets. And the media is a major culprit, and we're aware of it. Focusing on problems sell. If it bleeds, it leads. Asset framing is not that dramatic, though. It doesn't ignore issues or problems. Rather, it just begins with people as their solution. All people. Because we, people, are really the only renewable resource. Mr. Rogers presented Officer Clemens as an asset, a friend and a neighbor who was sweating on a hot day. He invited Clemens to cool off in the pool with him. Instead of dramatizing the disparity between white and black people, Rogers looked for the similarities. We were hot. We wanted to rest. Often we dramatize disparities so we can attach resources to fix the problem. We believe that if we define women or black or brown people, the disabled, by the thing that makes them most vulnerable in this society, or thereby their greatest inequity, we will retract resources in order to cure the ill. This deficit framing can be useful in attracting money or attention to inequity, but it also quietly defines people by these problems. When we deficit frame by their differences, we see people as different. This is the misguided idea of identity politics, and it's a race to the bottom of human sharing. Don't we want to acknowledge the true person, the true spirit living in everyone, the thing that motivates them, that gets them moving? What motivates someone in pain is not that they're in pain. No one wakes up in the morning inspired by that. Our spirits aren't moved by that. Our spirits are not moved by calling anyone out or feeling called out. We all aspire to have. We all aspire to create, to give to someone else. We want to be accepted as us. And when we start our relationship with a person by acknowledging this spirit that we share as human beings, we're going to have a different relationship with them. We can define each other by our assets, our well-being together. I believe there's no other way. A kiddie pool. Yes. Neighborliness. Yes. Maybe we practice that here when we can, seeing each other as good or generous or sharing neighbors. The idea of a neighborhood has always meant over millennia that we share. It's the reason why we get together. And we certainly have enough resources telling us that we're broken. We have enough stories telling us what needs to be fixed. We have enough people giving us constant fear triggers, fear primers. We have exhausted people on what they should be afraid of and worried about and scared of. Right now, we're a society that is awash with fear, and so much that we think it's the only way to motivate and engage people. Fear is the only way, and it's not. It's not. Honestly, when you start practicing asset framing, when you see others are just like you, with challenges just like you, perhaps with challenges far greater, when we see each other as just like us, their life gets better and our life gets better. Our perspective changes. Now, we don't have to ignore anyone's problems or faults. This is putting on rose-colored glasses. I'm not saying that. I'm saying as a spiritual practice, we can start with faith that life can be better. You know, faith is not belief without proof. It is trust without reservation. Mr. Rogers trusted that he would have an effect, and he did. He had faith that it would work, and we don't use faith nearly enough. When we do this, learning to see each other's potential and value, it becomes a skill, and that skill builds community. If we affirm each other, it makes it so much easier to work together toward solving the joint problems that befall us all. Mr. Rogers was right. It can be a good day in the neighborhood. And maybe like Buddha said, and Thich Nhat Hanh interpreted, the next guru might be a community. It might be a neighborhood. It might be us. Thank you for listening.
In these times of isolation, let's not forget that this congregation is a living entity. And like all things, it must have nurture and sustenance. If you contribute by pre-authorized withdrawals, thank you. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. Please consider making an e-transfer or writing a check. Maybe consider a recurring gift. And as we learned from our annual budget meeting last Sunday afternoon, there are times when communities may need more. So I'm asking you all to look openly into your hearts, moving away from fear, and ask yourself for a truthful answer about what you are able and willing to give. There's no wrong answer. A link will show in your chat window for you now, and all you need to do is click on it, and it will take you to our donation page. And by the way, it's perfectly acceptable to change your sharing commitment at any time. So we're going to now pause and Suzanne's going to play for us.
Neighborhood community, will you please join me in singing Stephen Foster's Hard Times Come Again No More? Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears, while we wholesome sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. While we seek mirth and beauty and music light and gay, there are frail forms fainting at the door. Though their voices are silent, their pleading looks will say, oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. There's a pale drooping maiden who toils her life away, with a worn heart whose better days are o'er. Though her voice would be merry, 'tis sighing all the day. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis a sigh that is wafted across the troubled wave. 'Tis a wail that is heard upon the shore. 'Tis a dirge that is murmured around the lowly grave. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days have you lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more. Oh, hard times come again no more.
And thank you, Suzanne. I'll invite everyone now to sing again with Suzanne as we extinguish our chalice.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
I bless all of us with the feeling that we are forgiven, so that we can forgive. For those of you who do not wish to join a breakout room, thank you for joining us. Everyone who remains here will be asked to join a breakout room. Today's question is, when you've forgiven or you've said you're sorry, what happens? If you're new to Neighborhood, just stay in the meeting by saying later to the request to join a breakout room. I'll be in this room that we're in right now to talk and to answer questions about the community or what happened today in the service or anything else we can talk about through the Neighborhood congregation. Now, feel free to end the ritual any way you want in this service, but we've been usually ending our service by going to gallery view, and if you can go there now, and unmuting ourselves, and together saying Namaste, which means I salute the spirit within you.
Namaste.
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 Namaste, everyone.
The spirit in me salutes the spirit in you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
And Namaste.